To my man Jake Hatch, locked on BYU,
Yeah.
locked on Cougars,
Yeah.
and now he talked about a theory he has that sort of could apply to Baylor in the same way.
Okay.
The great success that BYU has been having in the transfer portal through NIL. Um, Now that there's new rules that have been instituted, right, that have sort of taken away the golden keys to get players like AJ DeBonsa, right? Like now there's rules in place. Like, so you got your $20.5 million and you've got to justify all these NIL deals like in a proper fashion. At least that's the idea. A school like BYU, which has always gone and operated above board, right, is going to be less inclined to get those big time athletes now. It's all of a sudden there's been this amazing feast for BYU, a school like that. Or even you could say a school like Baylor, quite possibly because of the philosophical approach to school and the religious requirements, right?
Okay,
It's
wait.
stronger for BYU, right?
So I'm struggling to follow what
Yeah,
you're
okay,
implying.
okay.
Are we implying that BYU and Baylor are less likely to
Break
cheat,
the rules. Yes.
and we think Texas and A&M and them are gonna
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Well, so I would argue my feeling is BYU and Baylor are not less inclined to cheat. I just don't believe that. And B, I would argue that is the same position we've been in for 100 years. Like,
yeah, but so that's my point about BYU.
Okay.
BYU, I'm not
so
saying
they've had this pop,
they've had this
and
pop,
now we might regulate
and
back
now we may come right back
Okay.
down.
Okay.
And
That's
those
interesting. That's an
like
interesting perspective.
the massive worldwide resources that BYU has, much like a school like Texas Tech has, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about, we're just talking about resources
Yep.
and liquid cash, right?
Yep.
Um, Texas Tech is more likely to make sure they find every way possible to dip into that strength of theirs than a law-abiding BYU.
I don't know if I agree with that.
All right.
I might agree that there is a less likelihood of an under the table deal at BYU, but I think they're still gonna find a way to get the money and to pay the athletes.
All right, we're going to find out.
I do.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to find out if LeBron has a bag or not. We may or may not talk about that because that's something going on social media. We're going to talk about the Pacers, and we're going to talk about Oklahoma City, and we're going to talk about a huge game coming up tomorrow night, where right now the Pacers are 5.5-point underdog at home. The Pete Souza Show presented by Slovacek rolls on.